Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and today I'm gonna explain why Spider-Man No Way Home has the best ending out of all Spider-Man films. Now, of course, this video is gonna have a lot of spoilers, so I'm gonna assume if you decided to watch this video, then you probably watched the movie as well. This movie literally has it all, starting with Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, and so many other actors coming to reprise their roles. This movie could have failed so easily, because with such a great cast comes great anticipation of a compelling story, and this movie has it. It delivered for the most part. Now, before I dive into the ending, please spare me just 30 seconds to thank today's sponsor, Cove. If you're not new to my channel, you lads already know that Cove Commuter 2 Bluetooth speaker is super unique because it splits in half. That's like getting two speakers in one. This speaker has 7 hours of playback on a single charge and even has a built-in mic, which is great for taking calls. The Commuter 2 speaker makes a great gift, and right now they're offering my viewers an awesome deal for the holidays. Get 68% or more off the purchase of the Cove Commuter 2 speaker. Just click the link in description and use my code CL70 to take advantage of this great deal. Now let me give you the basic premise of this film so I can explain the ending better. It begins with Peter, MJ, and Ned dealing with the repercussions for what Mysterio did in Far From Home. But with the arrival of Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock in the MCU, he gets Peter out of all the legal mayhem relatively easily. The plot actually was all over the place in the first half, but in the second and third act, the movie picked up its pace and never slowed down. Seeing Ned and MJ not even getting their application considered by MIT because of their connection to Spider-Man, Peter decides to seek Dr. Strange's help and asks him to brainwash the entire world into forgetting that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But the spell goes wrong because Peter keeps making exceptions for his friends and family. But at the end he says, and I quote, "Basically everyone who knew that I was Spider-Man should still know." This one change that he made in the spell is what actually caused the multiverse to crack open. As a result, villains from all previous Spider-Man films start to appear in Tom's universe. But then Tom learns that all these villains were actually misunderstood before they turned all evil. Sending them back will get them killed by their universe's Spider-Man. So Tom decides to fix them before sending them home. But of course, they're villains, not all of them want to get fixed, and none of them share the same moral compass. For example, Green Goblin, Electro, and Lizard definitely don't want to go back to their universes. And then we learn while all the villains got pulled from their universes, it also pulled everyone who knows Spider-Man's real identity. As a result, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire both show up in this film. The three nerds then team up together and come up with an anti-serum to cure the villains. An epic battle takes place on top of the Statue of Liberty, and all three Spider-Men manage to cure the villains. But this still doesn't prevent the multiverse from falling apart. So Peter asks Dr. Strange to cast the spell again and make everyone forget that he's Spider-Man, including his friends and family. Peter does take a moment to say goodbye to MJ and Ned and promises them that he will come back to reintroduce himself. But at the end, when Peter sees a band-aid on MJ's face covering a cut she got from the final battle, he decides his friends are better off no longer being caught up in Spider-Man's drama. So he's now entirely alone in the world, which is a pretty depressing way to end a superhero movie. So that's the premise. Now let me explain what it means and what it does for the future of Tom's Spider-Man in the MCU. He can now either serve alongside the Avengers, as they would know Spider-Man but won't remember the man under the mask, or he could go on his own and try to do it all alone. So Marvel and Sony are actually paving the road for characters like Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy to appear in the MCU, because now Tom's Peter lost his MJ and his best friend. Could be the perfect opportunity to introduce Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy. But having said that, I really want Zendaya to continue playing MJ because she's so good at it, especially with Tom Holland. Their chemistry just works. So Peter could either fully devote himself to becoming Spider-Man, or he could rebuild his personal life and try to make a family again. So the criticism of Tom's Spider-Man being too much under the shadow of Tony Stark is now gone forever. No one will be able to call his character Iron Man Jr. in Spider-Man 4, because the guy who supplies him with all his fancy suits, aka Happy Hogan, now doesn't even recognize him. So even though Tom's Spider-Man remained a lot different than the original comics, but it seems as though with each installment, Tom's Spider-Man is becoming more and more like in the comics. Let me explain what I mean by that. In the comics, Classic Peter was always struggling in his life who paid the bills with photos of Spider-Man. Classic Peter didn't have the luxury of playing with high-tech tools, but Tom's Peter does. Well, not anymore, because he has totally abandoned it all in order to go solo. So Spider-Man 4 may follow a lot more of the comics than the previous three, where Tom's Peter will struggle, begin his college life, and a chaotic love life. Now No Way Home is all about giving the previous villains a second chance. That's why the final battle takes place at the Statue of Liberty, which is now being remodeled with Captain America's shield, who became Captain America because he was given multiple chances. So nothing represents a second chance better than this. But if you think deeply, the ending of No Way Home also gives a second chance to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire back in 2002 couldn't save Norman Osborn, which caused a rift between him and Harry Osborn, and Andrew Garfield in 2014 couldn't save Gwen Stacy. But in this film, Andrew saves Tom's MJ, and Tobey was able to save Harry's dad from getting impaled by his own glider. So this film didn't just redeem the villains, it also gave a second chance to the heroes. Now coming to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, the general consensus was that his version of the character was not up to the mark. It actually had nothing to do with him, he was given a bad script in a badly written movie. Even though his version had the most comic accurate suit, but at the end of the day the story has to be compelling as well. And look what they've done with him in No Way Home. Not only did they give him a redemption act, but also wrote an entire scene where the original Spider-Man basically approves of Andrew Garfield. Tobey says not once but 3 times that Andrew Garfield is an amazing Spider-Man. I mean, think about Tobey fans fighting with Andrew Garfield's fans arguing who's better, but that won't happen anymore because now they all coexist within the MCU, and Tobey approves of Andrew Garfield. So this film proves the 3 Spider-Men are not in a competition with each other. Instead, they work with each other when circumstances need them to. Now one big question remains, and that is whether Spider-Man No Way Home has a better ending than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, which is considered to be the greatest Spider-Man movie ever made. Well, the answer to that is a little bit complicated, because if you think about it, No Way Home would have never worked if Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 didn't work. The fact that the fans are so excited to see Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina back on screen goes to show that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 and 2 worked amazingly. And the fact that No Way Home writers didn't make any changes to Green Goblin or Doc Ock's character also shows that they didn't want to change something that was already perfect. No Way Home didn't rectify any of the mistakes of Spider-Man 1 or 2 because those movies were already perfect. In fact, No Way Home continued what Spider-Man 1 and 2 started. So it'd be wrong for me to say No Way Home is better than Spider-Man 2 because these movies play off of each other. But I still believe No Way Home has the heaviest ending out of all Spider-Man films. The fact that at the end Tom's Peter didn't reveal his true identity to MJ just by seeing a mere bandit on her face shows how much he has evolved. Wanting to tell MJ that he's Spider-Man and now giving it all up just to keep her safe, it perfectly portrays the long journey Tom's Peter had. He wanted to be an Avenger more than anything else, wanted more missions and tasks from Tony Stark, but now he knows the true cost of it all. He now thinks no good deed ever goes unpunished. In order to do the right thing for the greater good, he will have to suffer bigger consequences, and it's better if he does it alone without getting anyone else involved. But yes, he will make mistakes in Spider-Man 4 again. He may as well reveal everything to MJ in the future, and that's just who Peter is. He's not perfect. But if we take Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home into account, this has to be the best ending to a trilogy. Let me give you one last example. Look at how Tom's Peter carried on with his life after Aunt May got killed. He didn't stop being Spider-Man blaming himself for the death of Aunt May. Instead, he learned from Tobey and Andrew that it is in Peter Parker's fate that he will lose Aunt May or Uncle Ben at some point, but he will have to keep going to fight for everything they stood for, because with great power comes great responsibility. And that's it. This would be my breakdown of Spider-Man No Way Home's ending. I really believe I needed to make this video because seeing Tobey, Andrew, and Tom Holland all sharing the same screen, playing the same role of Spider-Man, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I took my time to break down this ending, because we may never get to see them together again. So please let me know your thoughts and if you agree with my breakdown. Now if you like this video, then please give me a thumbs up, grab the subscribe button and turn notifications on. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to get updates about my videos. Till then, I'll see you lads in the next one. And oh, I will be breaking down the whole film in the next video. I've already found a ton of details and I will watch it in 0.25x speed once the movie is available on Blu-ray, because that's what we do.